So in this video, I wanted to talk about real quick a couple of very useful tools in your main map tab, your selection section of tools. The one thing I want to point out is I would encourage those of you watching this video to watch the clip and intersect video as well. The reason being, in certain circumstances, it's possible to get confused between do I want select by location here, or do I want to clip or intersect? The long and the short of it is, clip and intersect will create new data from the commonalities between spatial objects. So, for example, if I wanted to say, give me the points underneath this buffer, clip and intersect in somewhat similar but varying processes will produce a new file that will show these points under this buffer. Select by location, which is a geographic selection tool, will show you these points that are underneath the buffer. And we'll do one extra step if we'd like to create a shapefile. So in some sense, select by location can be iterative. Show me the points under this, or show me the points over here, or show me the points underneath the chemical spill area or under the grassland, etc. All right, and then when you get down to what you would like, it's possible to export that. All right, and some of the tricks of the trade is if you want to build multiple selections, we can drop things down very specifically. All right. Let's go ahead and mess around with select by location though. And first and foremost, we want to try, let's see, all points 3, which is my new point file from previous videos, same point file. That's what we want to select. All right, this is the first input tab. All right, is what we want to grab things. Okay, and where do they intersect? What I mean by that is these are the files that we want to highlight. All right, and what is our relationship? And the relationship classes or constructs in here are quite large. All right, I would encourage you to be careful with them, but to definitely explore them. Like so, contains the buffer contains those points. In addition, that's similar to intersect. Completely contained within what polygon has all of another polygon inside of it. For example, okay, etc. Shares a line segment where it crosses the outline, all right, etc. For the most part, 99% of the time, you're going to stick with just this intersect, all right. We want to do intersects with what, all right, and we could say big buffer is this blue one. All right, we haven't created anything, so we're just going to hit apply. All right, and now we have those areas highlighted. All right, this is just a selection. All right, in order to create the data set, we have to pick from all points 3, let's say data and export features. All right, and we'd say all points 3, export out, let's say buffer points. All right. Okay, so we have those points buffered, and we can clear the selection, and just so we can I can prove to you that we still have everything. We have our old files. This new one, buffered points are yellow. All right, it's a new file, and then we turn it off. We still have all of our old points underneath. All right, so this new file was created by our selection. All right, in order to, we could do a couple of more things. Let's say we want to add, we could say input features. Let's say we want to do rivers. So we have input features select by location, rivers that intersect, and points that intersect big buffer. All right, you can build the compound and continue to do this and pull out information. The thing about what I'm cautioning you again is if we want to create new data, again, we'd have to right click data export. But if we did that with rivers, all right, it's not gonna export just that section that intersects. All right, it's going to export the entire river. All right, we haven't cut, intersected, or clipped anything technically. All right, the intersect tool will cut the river at the edges of the buffer. In this case, if we did it, we would just be essentially copying the river file. All right, let's go ahead and drop that. And to clear selection. So let's say all points. Okay. We can build slightly more compound selections with this selection type. Okay, so why don't we try this? I'll show you what I mean by compound selections. Say all points that intersect big buffer apply. All right, and then we could say all points from this selection, all right, that intersect chemical spill. Let's change big buffer to chemical spill area, and we have to change new selection to select subset from current selection. Again, I encourage you to check all these out, and we could say apply. All right, and those are the points that lie just under big buffer, okay, and our chemical spill area. All right, underneath this, let's turn off grassland. Where is it? Grassland. So those are the areas underneath that section. Okay. What I'm getting at is we can iterate between the files that we would like to create. This is a double-tiered selection now. All right. So we have of those that are within the buffer, which ones intersect grassland. Okay. Continuing with that, let us create an even more annoying selection feature. So we have selected those points that are under big buffer, okay, and intersect the chemical spill area. All right, and let us change out chemical spill to rivers. All right, and then we could do search distance. All right, let's say 20,000 meters. And we'd say select subset from current selection. That again is selecting from the selection. So apply. And now we have selected down to a third tier, if you will, selection. Okay, and this can get more and more complicated the farther you want to take it. So again, we haven't created anything. All right, we have just selected data. All right, so this is the select by location function. One final button I'd like to point out on the select by location button is a new invert spatial relationship button. Okay, so let's drop some of this more fancy stuff and just drop this back to new selection. Let's say, okay, select all from all points that intersect. Obviously, we can't have points intersect a river, so let's do all points central feature buff 3. Let's try this one over here. Okay, so we've highlighted these guys. All right, and let's see what invert spatial relationship does. It basically a switch selection function. Okay, so we wanted to jump around something, and from within this, we can begin to again develop very, very sophisticated select by location. So from this one, we could do select from the points that intersect. I don't know. This is it may or may not work. Rivers that are within 75,000 meters, but we have to go with select subset, and then we don't want to invert that one, so let's apply. Okay, and then with this one, if we wanted to say change this out, all right, and then invert. Apply. Okay, it's going ahead and changing things around. It's just a new selection. I'm sorry, new selection, and then invert. All right. Nothing actually matched this. Okay, so we got all points in intersected rivers. But the point being is, what the invert spatial relationship button does in general is, if you set this up, this is basically saying do the exact opposite of what I have just set up. All right, so it's basically a switch selection function, but it's more explained in more detail in here. Let me hop to select by attributes now. So with select by attributes, we want to go ahead and clear our selection from the select by location function, and obviously it's our tab here. All right, and this gets a little bit hinky with like SQL queries and things like that, so it's something to be aware of. You might want to become a little bit more comfortable with the concept therein. But basically, what we're asking the computer is, instead of asking where things are, we want to ask it like, show me all the houses that have incomes above 75,000 or something. Okay. And we'll go ahead and do this with the point file again. It will say, we'll go over here. I'm going to use all points 3. Okay, and we say new selection, and let's build an expression. Okay, so for within this, these where tabs, okay, the drop-down tab is what we have in our attribute table. So let me go ahead and open this. So under here, let's just open rivers. Let's open buffers or points. Point tab. Okay, so we've got these listed here. All right, and they are options within the select by attributes: CID, chemical parts per million, or cost. Long story short is, we just say, hey, I want to know costs are greater than, I don't know, $1,000. Let's make it a little easier or harder than that. Say 2,000. And apply. Okay. So everyone that is above 2,000 is listed, and just like with select by location, we could do data and export. I'm not going to go ahead and do that, but this is again just like with select by location, which is the geographic selection function. We can invert this and say, okay, give me the exact opposite. Boom. All right. The expressions can be saved in case you want to keep reusing them. All right. One thing I would suggest is be careful when you want to start building compound clauses. All right. We can add and add and add. And is, it is not, and, or. Okay. The reason I bring this up is if you do not understand what you're asking the computer, you need to be careful and probably cut it down again. All right. So we have a selection made here. Let's say cost greater than 2,000. All right. We can always do a subset. All right. And subset this, instead of adding a clause, we would say greater than 2,000. And then we'd say subset is less than 4,000. Okay. And there's anything greater than 2, but less than 4. So let's say new selection greater than 2, greater than 2,000, apply. Okay. So these are the ones that are cost is less than 2,000 inverted. All right. So we have those selected that are greater than 2,000. Let's change this out one more time. Okay. We want cost is greater than 2,000. Apply. All right. So we got 4,151 selected here. 25 here. Okay. But let's go ahead and say from this selection, all right, select subset is, these are greater than, now we say less than 4,000. Okay, there it is. That's a bit better. On the map, you can see the spatial query coming up from the attribute table. These are the ones that match greater than 2 but less than 4. Okay, what I'm getting at is using this select from subset, you're still using one clause. But what we could do, all right, is just do, let's clear and say all points and new selection. All right, greater than 2,000 and add clause, and cost is less than 4,000. Apply. Same idea. All right. We have to be careful with our Boolean operators, the and or. I just want everybody to be careful with those. Okay, and if this were the final thing that we wanted to use, again, like I said, data and export. All right, and this would say select by attrib. Let's say that. All points, blah, 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 blah. Okay, and we can clear. Let me go ahead and color these so we can see them again. Yellow is fine. All right, apply. Close that. Those are the ones that we have created. All right, and they still exist underneath because it's just a query. Now we've created new data. Finally, I just want to quickly say all the rules apply in some sense to our final, more free-handed select. All right, let's say we click select, all right, and we can draw rectangles, all right, and it will give us everything that in some sense intersects underneath those this rectangle drawn. All right, let me turn off this one so we don't need it. These are the original data set. Who is underneath this rectangle? All right, and the reason it highlights everything is because those are the ones that intersect. Notice that this buffer over here did not. Okay, we could go over here, just the chemical spill area, or up here we have this one river, and down here we have this one river. All right, if we wanted to do things a little bit more crazy, all right, we could use lassos. What intersects that way you can see is better with the points. All right, circles, same idea though. Lines, nothing, and those two intersected. Okay. Trace, and it's following the actual polygon. Okay, and who actually follows that? And the one that I think these take a little bit of getting used to. One thing I think I skipped on purpose so we could show you is polygon. Okay, the reason this one's cool is in some cases you would say I want, let's say these guys down here are an error. All right, let's go ahead and select them with the polygon, and I'm clicking now while I'm doing this. All right, so we selected those three. All right, we can go to all points and check our attribute table. And let's go ahead and bring it up. All right, and for selection, we could say select by attributes and zoom to selection. Let's see what we want to do. We want to switch. So when I say that that's an error, what I did was I selected the ones that are an error, all right, and then I flipped the selection to the ones that are not the error in this theoretical scenario, and then we could do export features, and now we have that new feature class. All right, will be the one that doesn't contain these 3 points as an error. Additionally, we could do far more detailed point cutting. So we don't want those guys. We want these here, but not that one, and here, and those are the ones that are underneath that. Again, all the same rules apply. The key here again is we are just doing with this selection function, excuse me, just asking it to show us. And with attributes, we're asking it to show us based on rules in the table. And with select by location, we're asking it to show us based on rules of geographic location. Okay, so those are the select two